My grandmother experienced the genocide by her own eyes. She was in Mush in 1915, in July, when the Turkish soldiers shelled the city and destroyed her working field, destroyed her orphanage, destroyed her clinic.
They knocked the door and took us out, and we had to walk. And they took my father early. Only women and children left.
All the beautiful girls were victims of some kind, you know, rape or theft or kidnapping. My mother said that they would use mud to rub on the faces of the beautiful women so they wouldn't look so attractive. Try to look like they had sores on their face, just to save them.
My mother would talk about that all the time, and she would say in Armenian, why did God do this? And she lost her faith.
Orphans of the Genocide. The story of hundreds of thousands of Armenian genocide orphans, forgotten in the pages of history. Dr. Martin Duranian, a dentist, historian, and a native of Worcester, Massachusetts, has spent more than 25 years of his life tracing the roots and the whereabouts of an Isfahan rug, known as the Orphan Rug.
Now, my interest in this rug, woven by Armenian orphans, goes back to a Swiss missionary by the name of Papa Kunstler. He was called doctor, but he really wasn't a doctor. And he helped the Armenians for, at least 25 years, mainly in Urfa. And he was called the father of the Armenian orphans. Well, he saved my mother.
Varter Bogigian, Dr. Martin Duranian's mother, was a native of Husineg near Harput. She was married to Mugardich Nazarian, a prominent merchant. The couple had 6 children and a posh life.
Gendarme knocks on the door of the Nazarian home, telling the husband, Mugardich, that we need you in the store. Don't bother changing your clothes. You're going to be back in a short while. And he was never heard from again.
Widowed with 6 children, Varter starts her dreadful deportation journey, along which she loses all 6 children and her parents. She is abducted by 2 Turkish men, lives through physical and mental indignities before arriving in Urfa, where she meets a Swiss missionary by the name of Jacob Kunstler, who saves her life by sending her to safety in Aleppo, Syria. Varter later settles in the U.S. and remarries to Dr. Duranian's father, Mardiros Duranian of Worcester, Massachusetts.
Jacob Kunstler was in Turkey, in Urfa, when one day he saw my grandmother, 2-year-old, 3-year-old little girl, orphaned, no parents, on the street by herself. And he took her and adopted her, and he took her to Switzerland, where she was raised. She went to school with her siblings. Jacob didn't have any children then when he adopted her, and then later on he had several children, and my grandmother Rosa was raised with them.
Ida's grandmother, Vartuhi, Rose in Armenian, was one of the 9 orphan siblings of a family from Urfa. All her siblings were adopted by Armenian families, except Rosa. Jacob Kunstler and his wife Elizabeth took Rosa in and raised her as their own.
In the 20s, I believe, early 20s or late 1919, they came back to Urfa to do his missionary work. He had his family with him, and that's where my grandmother was introduced to my grandfather, Moses Alahidoyan. They got married, and my father was born in Urfa. When he was about 6 months old, all of the Künstler and the Al-Haidoyan families, they came to Lebanon. And that's when they all got established in Ghazir, and the orphanage and some other, I guess, missionary work and schools were established.
Jacob Künstler saved the lives of thousands of Armenian genocide orphans. Under his supervision, 8,000 orphans were transferred from Anatolia to Aleppo and Lebanon. Once, while rushing to the funeral of an orphan, Jacob slipped and got poisoned by common thorns. Eventually, his arm got infected and had to be amputated. He was called Papa by thousands of Armenian orphans for his selfless devotion to the rescue and care of the children.
It was this Papa Künstler who established this rug factory in the orphanage established by Near East Relief in Ghazir. And so you can understand my passion for this story and for the rug. And I have spent perhaps 25 years researching every bit of the story that I could. And I have traveled hither and yon to trace what happened to that rug, which was a beautiful piece of work, 18 feet by almost 12 feet, woven by these destitute orphans, girls, and given to America as an expression of love for what America had done for them. And it was presented to the President of the United States, Calvin Coolidge, in 1925. And he received it with great honor on which was called Golden Rule Sunday.
After 25 years of exhausting research, Dr. Duranian located the Orphan Rug at a White House storage.
The rug captured my interest, perhaps out of memory of what Papa Künstler had done, particularly to my mother. And that was the telling reason for me to be doing this.
In 1984, Senator Carl Levin, a Democrat from Michigan, along with Dr. Duranian, paid a visit to the White House for a viewing of the rug. To this date, the Orphan Rug remains in storage at the White House as Armenian activists diligently work on having the rug removed from storage and displayed for public viewing permanently.